awesome.
T-minus 3, 2, 1, 0, and liftoff.
Hello. Welcome to the Biz Doc Podcast. We have a great lineup today. We hope to leave you better than we found you with information that you can apply to your life, your career, whether you are building a t-shirt company in Berlin or you're trying to build a tech company here in the United States. We believe that we've got stuff that's going to help you get there faster and get there better. Today, we're going to talk about some market stats, specifically the stock market. Why is the stock market up if all these other economic indicators, like here in the U.S., says are down? What's up with that? Why do some people say recession, no recession here in the U.S., and yet people in Europe are saying, nope, we're entering it right now? What's up with that? We're going to cover a little bit of that. But more importantly, I am very much excited to do. You remember the Biz Doc case studies. Well, I did a case study on Odoo. Love it. Love the software. Love what they're doing. All under one package. Very innovative stuff. We have got the founder and CEO, Fabien Pinckaers, who's going to be here with us talking about things that you can apply to your business, because I'm going to ask him the road he walked on. I'm going to ask him some things that he did right and where trouble happened so he can share them with you. He's an amazingly open guy. And then lastly, we're going to dive into, at the end, the fate of CNN. A thing called the Allen Conference is coming up, where all the media people go up to with Allen and Company, and they go to Sun Valley, Idaho, I believe it is, and they get together for several days and deals happen. I think CNN is going to have an announcement coming out of the Allen and Company conference. So first, hello, Kellyanne. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Yep, we think young Kai, is still in Norwegia, which is our joke for where Norwegians live. He's out there. I think his sister graduated, and he went there to stand with the family and see that.
It's very exciting.
So send good thoughts to Kai and what he's doing there, being with his family at a great milestone event, his sister graduating. Big accomplishment for her. So, hey, Kai, if you're watching, hope you're having a great trip.
We miss you.
Yep. So let's start here really quick. Why is the stock market in the United States up? Well, because something must be going up. Yeah, but there's this thing called the S&P 500. We all know what that is. You've got the Dow Jones Industrial Average, you got the S&P 500, and you got the NASDAQ 100. And NASDAQ is really heavily tech-weighted. But also, when you look at the S&P, you also take a look at performance of things that are uniquely tech. And I have a chart that I want to show you, because in the middle of all this, you're hearing about housing prices flat in the United States, inflation still over 4%. You're hearing about 14 consecutive times the government announcements that they've beaten the guidance on unemployment. Yeah, that's because they keep making announcements and then adjusting it down behind our backs. You can Google this. You can go search for this. It is so true. The U.S. government is manipulating labor stats to make it look like they're beating 14 in a row. We've had good change in unemployment, but it's not back to where it needs to be. And there's a lot of layoffs and things going on, and it complicates. So you got all these interest rates, mortgages, the home market. What's going on with all that? It seems down. Layoffs are certainly down if you're the one being laid off. And then we got the stock market up. What's going on? Let's pop that chart back up here. The S&P 500, 85% of the pump that has happened in the S&P 500 since January, look at this, is 7 stocks. Microsoft, Meta, Facebook, Amazon, Nvidia, Google, Apple, and Tesla. Remember last year they were talking about FANGA, which was Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, Google, and Apple, FANGA. And now one of those is out. Netflix has had a little bit of a tougher year. And Tesla is in. So they're just calling it the Magnificent Seven. But take a look at the blue line. 493 companies in the S&P 500, flat. That's in line with layoffs. That's in line with inflation. That's in line with unemployment. That's in line with the tough things that we're hearing on interest rates and the U.S. market. But these 7 stocks have run like a freight train. And I'll tell you, I'll be very open. I loaded up on some Tesla at 109 at the beginning of the year. Loaded up. and now it's 250. So I've had a pretty good time on that over the spring, and now we're about 5 days into summer now. Summer started on the 21st, and we are sitting here at the end of June. And then, actually, excuse me, we're in July now. This is July 3rd, and tomorrow, 4th of July. So exciting times here in the US. But the point is, 7 stocks are driving it. So thank you for the notes. Thank you for the questions. That's what's going on. The headline about the stock market is limited to the Magnificent Seven. The rest of the stock market and the rest of the economy, we are bracing for potentially a Q4, Q1 recession, and Europe is already talking about it. So anyway, I want to touch that first, but now I want to get into really what I want to do today, and we want to talk to the founder of Odoo. Because speaking of recession in Europe and European companies, here's a European company that I dare say, maybe if you look at the tech companies in Europe, maybe you call Odoo one of the Magnificent Seven. What I do know is what Odoo is doing, and there's Fabien standing out in front of the logo, out in front of their office. His story is truly amazing and really wonderful. And so I'd like to introduce here the CEO and founder of Odoo, Fabien Pinckaers. Hey Fabien, how are you?
Hi, I'm good.
I am doing great. You know, I don't know if you saw, but 2 years ago, I did the case study on Odoo. I do these 15-minute case studies on companies, and we like to play a clip from that because I think you're going to like it, because I tip the hat to something that you've put on your website that I wish more entrepreneurs would. Can you pop that? We have a little timestamp. Here we go.
Ready for computer audio, and I'm playing.
It's been 16 years of hard work, sweat, and toil getting there. And go to the website and read the little diary that was put together by Fabien himself. He takes you through the diary and the story of Odoo. It's a great read for those of you who are entrepreneurs, whether they're running a t-shirt company in Berlin or a technology company in California. It's a great read. And during part of it, he says, I almost ended up homeless thanks to some bad luck with the investor and some bad luck with the market. I already had the dog, so being homeless, I had the dog, so I was almost on my way. There's some of this that it's very tongue-in-cheek, but very funny. Go check it out. Which takes me... Yep.
Yeah, you were spot on. I really love this video. You were spot on. Great show.
Oh, thank you very much. I really appreciate doing it. And so, what's up? What is new on with Odoo right now? What announcements are you coming up with? Because you're on version, what, 14, 15, 16 by now?
Yeah, we are 16. We decreased our price actually a few months ago. And since that, we went from 1,700 new customers per month to 5,000 new customers per month.
Wow.
So now we grow close to 3 times faster. And we also did a new investment from General Atlantic recently of 150 million euro in Odoo.
That's fantastic. What is your total raise so far? When I did the case study, I think you were around...
So General Atlantic was a secondary, so it's not money for the company. We raised 10 million in total, which is basically nothing for a company which is valued at more than $4 billion now.
Oh, fantastic. Hey, I want to show the positioning chart. There's a great positioning chart here that I think you're familiar with. You use it, but let's look at that position. So tell people about, why did you decide that this quadrant and this positioning versus Salesforce, versus NetSuite, versus the large players, why was it important to you that you felt a company was needed at the end of at high user-friendly and wide business scope?
So we have to choose our battle. We cannot win on every thing. So we knew that we couldn't win on marketing. The others have way bigger budget than us. But we choose to win on 2 things. One is usability, being very simple and efficient. So you can have any business apps in just a few clicks, and affordable. And the other one is to be complete, to manage all the business needs of a traditional company. You need a website, you need an accounting software, inventory management. We have all these apps accessible in one click. And we decided to focus only on these 2 things, not on verticals, not on marketing, not on other things. We focused on, we want to cover all the business needs of companies and make it super simple and affordable. And basically, there is nobody in this market. You have the traditional ERP with tons of features, but they are very expensive and complex to use. In the other hand, you have the single players like MailChimp to send email or Trello, or they do one thing, they do it well, but they only do one thing. And we are the first one to bring the both value together.
It was wonderful. Can you show the chart that shows all the sub-functions and everything that are offered by Odoo? So take a look at this, folks. This is what Odoo does. They start with sales CRM, a typical CRM, sales, and also managing subscriptions. They have an Amazon connector pack that's part of that. And then the regular finance, accounting, invoicing, and things like that. And then moving over to company website, as well as inventory and MRP, because finance connects to inventory and MRP, and then of course HR, marketing, productivity, and other services such as timesheets and things like that. So they have built this so a small business can start building their website and then also build the back-end ERP. So it's your customer face in terms of website builder with e-commerce on it, if that's where you're selling, including live chat, customer service, and then building all the ERP as well as the CRM. Frequently, companies have to buy the ERP, which is basically like a NetSuite or a QuickBooks Plus, so that all those things can be used by finance, operations, and things. And then on the other side, you buy a CRM for your salespeople, so you can keep track of your customers, and you can have libraries of history, CRM, of your salespeople talking to your customers. So if a salesperson leaves, you have the diary and everything they've done. And then finally, you usually have a website vendor and an e-commerce partner. People like to plug in Shopify and things like that. What Odoo said is, let's put it together on one roof and let's give you a single point to come connect with to build everything that your small business or mid-sized business would need. And so, Fabien, what would you add to that? I want to make sure that I have presented it correctly.
You're right. It's one of the two values we have is to be complete, to cover all the business needs of a company. The other side is all these applications are available for $25 per user per month for all applications. So not just one. For $25, you get all the applications. And that's the key success factor of Odoo is at the same time, you have all these features and we make them very, very affordable.
That's wonderful. So what is brand new right now? What have you recently added to the Odoo stack?
We have added Odoo Knowledge, which is a clone of Notion, knowledge management system. Basically, we copied all the features, but now we have the value of being fully integrated with the rest. So you have a knowledge management system linked to your CRM or to your website and things like that. And now we are improving our manufacturing execution system. So it's the tablet you have in the shop floor for manufacturing companies, where you can manage all the operations of the different machines. These are the two latest additions.
That's fantastic. So what most people don't know is that this wasn't your first software company. At age 13, you actually built your first software company.
Yeah, it takes time. I've done a lot of things, and I would say this one worked better than the others.
Yep, that's good. Well, tell us a little about at age 13, getting interested in software and doing it. Many of our audience here in the United States and internationally, they are entrepreneurs, maybe not as young as you, but they're looking for that first point and they're building their business or they're in a business. And it's always interesting to them to see the path that other entrepreneurs have been on. Why don't you tell us about 13 years old, starting that company, and then the steps that led you to launching Tiny ERP, which became Odoo, correct?
Yes. So basically, I'm a developer, a software developer, and I love to develop things and develop useful things. So I develop a lot of different services, e-commerce, antivirus, virus, lots of different tools for different clients, and this ERP software. And at some point, I decided to stop everything I was doing and refocus on Odoo. But I get to that point of doing a lot of things and have one that gets better than the others.
That's good. So what's interesting is a lot of times people go through the difficult early stage. What was difficult in the early days, early time of Odoo, and what did you have to personally learn or do to get the company through that?
Over the past 20 years, I think I've had 8 years close to bankruptcy. So the difficulty has always been the cash because we bootstrapped the company. I didn't raise a lot of money. I raised my first round when I was 100 employees. So it was very hard to develop the software and serve the client at the same time to get the money and so on. So it was all about working hard, long days, and surviving. Sometimes we were doing projects that were not profitable just for the cash. But by doing that, we always did it with a vision. We always had this vision of making enterprise management software, business applications affordable and accessible to SMEs. So even though we didn't went straight and we had to do things just because we had to survive, we always thought about this vision that we have today, which is fully integrated management software and affordable.
Yep. You've mentioned vision a couple times. Is that how you keep your team together when you went through times where you're very close to bankruptcy, which is not unusual? So many people that watch the podcast have talked about during COVID, I almost went bankrupt, but I just hung on. And now after COVID, thank goodness I am able to go again. How do you keep your folks focused when you're close to bankruptcy and maybe they are getting nervous and want to find a different job?
Yes, what's very important for me is to be transparent. You know, when things goes wrong, everyone starts to get scared and things like that. If you, as a CEO, start to make them believe that everything's right, don't worry, there is no issue, because we are optimistic. So as entrepreneur, we always want to. The team will notice that there is issue. They will notice that you are not well and things like that, and so they won't trust you anymore if you bullshit them and don't tell the truth. So what I learned is that it's super important to be transparent, explain what are the difficulties, explain what's the plan. And in the past, when we were very close to bankruptcy, I even showed them graphs with the turnover of revenue and the cash of Odoo that was going down and down and down up to a point where we are close to zero. And I was telling them, okay, here is where we are, but here is the plan. Here is what we'll do. It's going to be hard. We'll have to work hard, but we'll do it together and we will make it. And when you are transparent, when I explained that to the employee, even though there was a very big risk for them, everyone stayed in the company and helped us improve.
So even though there's a big risk, at that moment, you know who is on the team and shares the vision and the risk is acceptable.
You cannot build big things without bigger risk. They goes together. So what we wanted to do is huge. We grew fast, very fast. So obviously there is risk attached to that. It's just that you need to know where you go. You need to know how to execute. Sometimes you have to do difficult decisions, like letting some people go. But yeah, it's always very important to always have the big picture and be sure that everyone is aligned on this big picture.
Yep. You know, you cannot do big things without risk. That is so true. So in the company, am I correct that you're the founder and CEO, but functionally you're really chief product officer and CTO? Is that really where you are? Entrepreneurs come from many places.
Even today, I spend 50% of my time on the product. I'm not CTO because we have a great CTO, but I'm working a lot of my time with the product owners and the developers and the CTO. So if I look at how I spend my time, I don't focus too much about the day-to-day. So I don't serve client, I don't sell, I don't do sales, I don't do service, I only focus on being sure that the company will have 50-55% growth within the next 3 years. So my goal is to guarantee the long term of Odoo, not the short term. And in that regard, the product is very important. The product has always been what pulled us forward. The reason why we grew so much over the past years is the product. So it requires a lot of focus in order to be sure you continue innovating. So I would say 50% of my time on the product.
That's great. So you know, it's interesting. Many CEOs come from product or business development. They understand a market, business development, and they have an idea and they build the product to go in there. The other half usually are from product. They understand the product, they see opportunity. You saw the need for affordable, complete ERP, CRM altogether, and that was your product push. Most CEOs start either one of those. When did you realize that you needed to add someone to your team to help you keep certain things off your desk, to do other things so that you could focus on product? When in the life of Odoo did you realize that, and who was that you hired?
I think it was quite at the beginning, like we had 10 employees. And one key moment for me was I was working very hard, like 7 days a week, maybe 12 hours per day. I was doing that. I didn't take a single day of holiday, of time off over the past 7 years. So I was working really, really hard. And at some point, my wife said, no, you have to do stop. I want to go on holiday. And she booked holidays in Mongolia because there is no internet in Mongolia. So I was forced to go there and focus on something else. And when I came back, I realized that the company was working. I mean, without me, everything was still running correctly. Everyone took charge. And for me, it has been an enlightenment. And since that day, it's easier for me to delegate.
So you take a holiday with your wife, you come back, the company is working.
I thought everything would burn and everything was fine because everyone took their own responsibility, and it changed my way of seeing things since that.
You think you come back to smoke and fire and it's all burning, but it's okay. So it proved to you
exactly.
There you go, that you could stay out of that and then spend 50% of your time on product and then focus on growth, getting the growth, raising capital. You know, that's an important moment for any entrepreneur. That's a great story. Even today, so you talk about being transparent. Let's be transparent today. Are there things today that you, Fabien, still need to maybe let go of, even though Odoo is many years of development now?
No, I don't think so. I think I'm quite good at managing my own agenda and choosing where I spend my time. And I think I really use my time where it's useful. So I don't think I have an issue here.
That's good.
It's not an answer, but it's true.
Yeah. When you started early, did you have a particular mentor or an outside voice that was helpful, maybe an investor? Was there someone like that you connected to during the early days of Odoo?
No, I don't have a single person. I read a lot. I used to read 2 books per week. Now I think I'm closer to book about management, product, or psychology, or everything that's useful for the business. Now I think I'm closer to 2 or 3 per month. But so I get ideas from a lot of different persons, but there is not one single person that influenced the way I am.
But you're reading 2 books a week. That's impressive.
Yeah, now I'm closer to 3 per month, so I decreased my rhythm, but I've done that for a lot of time, yes, several years.
What are the 3 or 4 books that you thought were very important that you think maybe other entrepreneurs and leaders should read?
I think I really like The Art of Strategy, which is a book about strategy, obviously. Never Split the Difference, a book about negotiation. And if I have to name one extra, I like the Street Fighting Mathematics. It's a different way of thinking mathematics than traditional books.
Yep, appreciate it. So what do you wish you had known earlier when you were trying to keep the company from bankruptcy? As you look back to the past, what do you wish you knew earlier?
So one of the biggest mistakes I did was the business model. So I started, I'm passionate about open source, and I started as a fully open source product because that's always what I wanted to do. And I'm still today, what motivates me is to contribute a lot to open source. And so I started as a fully open source product, and I grew a community saying, okay, we are open source, the others that are not totally open source is not good, open source is great, but the rest is not good, and so on and so on. And then as we grew, we get to a point where an open source business model didn't work. I couldn't sustain the R&D cost and marketing cost with a product that was basically free and just selling support and maintenance on top of it. So I had to do a pivot on the business model and switch to what we call an open core business model, where 80% is open source and 20% is for a fee. And that has been the best decision of my life. It changed everything since we did that. No more cache issues and things like that, because now we could sell features and we didn't have customers who were churning. They were still using the product but churning because they didn't need support. But because I didn't build the company and the community on this idea at the beginning, the community felt betrayed. And so we've had a lot of bad marketing. And so I believe the biggest mistakes I've done is not to announce to the community that we are open source today, but in the future we will do a little bit of proprietary software in order to sustain the open source development, because it allows us to pay more developers, rather than saying we will always be 100% open source. I didn't know that at the time, but I think if I would have known, I would have saved maybe 1 year to the development of the company.
Yeah, you could have saved a year there. Yeah. Interesting. Anyway, what else would you, I always give the last question back to you. You know, what do you want to share with entrepreneurs that would either help them, encourage them, because you're not even 40 years old yet. You've been able to walk this path and you have so much experience that normally comes later. And it probably comes from the fact that you started your first company when you were 13, which led to Tiny ERP, which led to Odoo. What would you share in general for entrepreneurs around the world who are walking the same journey? What would you share?
I think my number one advice today would be you have to try Odoo. And I'm not trying to sell the software here. I really do believe that if I have had the software we have today at the beginning of my journey, I would have saved a lot of money and time and so on, building up all our IT infrastructure. I lost so much money because I didn't like to send follow-up to my clients. It was administrative, and I'm very bad at doing administrative tasks. I was not re-invoicing expenses, anything like that. If I would have had Odoo at the time, I think I would have saved a lot of money and a lot of time. So I really recommend people to have a look at it because it's a game changer.
There you go. Well, it's about Odoo, but it's about having tools that can help you with these things and save yourself a lot of time. So, you know, yes. Marketing automation, ERP, it's never too early to get good tools in place.
Yes, exactly.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, when do you get to the U.S.? What conferences and things do you come to in the U.S.? If people ever wanted to connect with you, where would they see you?
No, I'm in India for 1 year, so I don't plan to go to the US soon.
Wow.
We have a lot of people in the US, though. We have 700 employees there, I think. But my challenge today is to develop the Indian company.
Oh, good. Well, if you're ever in Miami, we are in South Florida and Miami. If you're ever down here, please let us know. We would love to do just a quick live follow-up, because your story and what you've done with Odoo, this is what people dream of doing. And they may not be in technology. They can be in housing construction. They can be in so many different businesses. But they're always looking for entrepreneurs that have been successful. And what did they learn? What did they do? How did they get there? Mistakes they made. Your advice at being transparent, Fabien, is fantastic. It was wonderful. I thank you so much for making some time to be here with us. And so I give the last word to you.
Thank you for inviting me, and really love the show, so continue like that.
Thank you so much. We will see you soon.
Bye.
Bye. Wow. What did you think of that?
He's, like you said, his story is very inspiring for other entrepreneurs. That's what every entrepreneur dreams of. So it's nice to see someone that works that hard, that is successful, that's been through the ups and downs. And I think that's really encouraging and valuable information for other business people. And
I think the most powerful thing that Fabien, the founder of Odoo, said was this: be transparent when there's a crisis. He built charts, put them up on the screen, brought everybody together. This is the cash we have. This is where it's going. This is what the risk is. I'm trying to raise more capital. I'm trying to do this, but I want to be honest with you about where the company could be going. He was honest with that, and there were people that believed in the vision for the product and appreciated him being transparent as a CEO, and they stayed. There were other people that said, this is too much risk for me. I will find a different job. But the ones that bought into the vision and understood the risk, how can you not appreciate the leader and then have more faith and more trust and see the integrity of the leader saying, this wasn't going to be easy, folks. This is the journey. Here's the cash. I'm trying to raise more. The product is good. We're getting customers. Are you in? This is what you're buying into. I think that was just powerful. Very, very powerful. His other comment about get tools soon. In other words, Fabien also talked about an important lesson. Get tools in place early. You can work 12 hours a day, but there's marketing automation tools for social media to automate your cheats. There is accounting tools that are out there. There's CRM like Odoo. And he said, don't wait to get the tools in place. If you're automating systems now, you can actually make money go further early on. You have to select the systems that are not overly expensive, but that sometimes will help you turn one person who's doing your accounting into 1.5 people because you have tools to help you. So get the tools in place early. I thought was also a really great learning. And if you haven't checked out Odoo, this is not an endorsement of one over the other. Go watch the case study I did it. Go check it out and see maybe that fits for you. Maybe that works for your business. But really appreciate Fabien, being here and going through all that.
Yeah.
So now, there's something very interesting going on. I don't know if people know about the Allen & Company conference. Let's see if we can. Media company go to the Allen & Company conference every year. Here's a couple of guys you might know visiting the Allen conference. There's, it's really kind of funny. This is Roger Goodell in the kind of the lavender sweater, who's with the NFL, kind of a big guy. And this is Adam Silver, who's head of the NBA, who's kind of a tall, skinny guy.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny that the leaders of the sports, in America are, almost a mirror of the kind of people that play those sports. But Allen & Company gets everybody together once a year. The media companies come together. And when they come together for that conference, sometimes deals get made because Allen & Company obviously wants to be an advisor, wants to be part of that, but they also want to facilitate getting people together. That was something also, a lesson here that Patrick Bet-David did in the life of PHP. He did an annual business meeting where he brought all of his partners together. There's a lot of life insurance companies that normally would compete with each other in the same room. Now, they don't talk pricing, they don't talk product, but they talk about the industry and they talk about how to make it better. And then Pat was sharing his vision on how he wanted to sell more, expand more, drive more, go more, get more, do more. And up and to the right. And if you know Patrick, when he says up and to the right, he's the guy leading the charge. And you don't have to wait for the graph to go up. He's going to be at the top of it with a rope, pulling the whole company behind him and setting the track. You can do the same thing. So before I get into CNN and Allen & Company, go look at the Allen & Company conference and say to yourself, could I do something similar for my business? Could I bring a few partners together, even if it's just dinner and a 2-hour meeting after dinner? These are things that set you apart from competition. Patrick did it with PHP, annual business meeting. Allen & Company's been doing it for a while with media and big brands connected to media. So you just saw the 2 sports leagues that were there. Well, Allen & Company conference is about to start. It's coming up in just a couple weeks. And you're going to have all these heavyweights coming there. And by the way, everybody that says that they're woke and they're green, taking private jets to the middle of nowhere in Idaho, leaving a hell of a carbon footprint to get there. But nonetheless, once they're there, they're going to be talking about these. And one of the guys is going to be here. Look at this too cool guy right here. Let's go take a look at him. This is, they call him Zaz, but this is David Zaslav, who is the CEO of Warner Brothers Discovery, and they have had what could only be described as the year from hell with one of their properties, CNN. And I believe, and I'm going to set the forecast here, we're living in a time where people are forecasting what's up with the Fed. People are forecasting what's up with, with interest rates. How does that affect housing? Blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what? He's going to be there, and I think that they are trying to do a deal to move CNN, and I think it's going to be to CBS. And let me tell you why. If you look at the lineup, at the properties, let's start with NBC. NBC is NBC, they have MSNBC and CNBC. They're set. They've got cable channels, a business-oriented channel, and of course the mothership. They're set. They don't need that. You look at ABC, they got these things going on with Disney, they got a lot of stuff going on, and they're trying to figure things out. So I think Disney, ABC, ESPN got their handful. And frankly, you know, ESPN's been bleeding subscribers and now they've been bleeding talent. But here you have CBS that really doesn't have, you know, additional plays in what would be the OTT or what you and I might call cable space. CNN under CBS as a rejuvenated play, I think makes a lot of sense. So I think you're going to see it. And if you enjoy watching, you know, the markets and things like this as I do, I think this is very possible. Now, what lesson is in here for us? There's two lessons I want to talk about. The first lesson is, number one, they let things get out of hand at CNN too quickly, way too quickly. Chris Licht was trying to do certain things, and then they had the Trump, you know, debate, which split the staff and the opinion. Everything happened. They let it go too on. Now, I think, as I've said, they were too hard on Chris Licht, and I think he was in a terrible position. He walks in when they've got the Don Lemon thing, the Chris Como thing. Chris, you're out. Don Lemon, okay, you're in the penalty box. We're gonna get you some sensitivity training. Remember when he said those things about women over 40? Oh my gosh. So Chris Licht isn't even there that long, and all that stuff happened, and we know what happened, and ultimately Chris Licht left. And he let a magazine, The Atlantic, do this big story on him where he said too much, and they put it in print. So there was some missteps, but it was also kind of a thankless job. Oh yeah, and they were canceling CNN Plus as he walked in the door. So I think CBS could be an opportunity for a fresh start for CNN, do something with it. But nonetheless, I think something's there. There's also rumors that Jeff Zuckerberg wants to get together with private equity, because remember, Jeff Zuckerberg got fired, went to private equity. He's a media expert, really good. Has his time passed? Has he really gone 3 chapters deeper than really is necessary in terms of new vision for the company? Don't know. But he's got private equity money, he wants to come in and see if he can do that. But I think that the Allen Company Conference is going to be very interesting because there's a lot that's going on in media in the United States, and we are about to see a consolidation just like we saw on mobile phones. Do you remember when there was Verizon and AT&T and Nextel and Virgin Mobile and Boost Mobile, Sprint, Singular? That was a set not too long ago. And then AT&T got together with Singular, made one big family. You know, Verizon, I think, picked up one of them. Did Verizon pick up Virgin? I don't remember. But Sprint picked up Nextel, then T-Mobile picked up Sprint. I think you're about to see the same thing going on in terms of consolidation in media. Now then, I had a question come in about real estate. And they said, hey, you know, what do you really think is up in real estate right now? I'm going to separate this into, for this week, last topic I'm going to cover here, then I'm going to get to one of your questions, is commercial real estate on one side, residential real estate on the other. Residential real estate, interest rates are high, so that if your mom and dad are going to move to Florida and get a little house down there, they're probably not going to sell the house in Bedford, you know, up in the Northeast. Why? They could Airbnb it, or they could lease it out, and they've got a 3% mortgage. And the mortgage isn't that big. So why not keep it? Because prices are coming down a little bit, but they're not crashing. Well, the reason this is, the supply is low is because your mom and dad and millions of people like them don't want to sell their house. So there's no supply. If there's no supply, you know, the prices stay high. The other side of it is the demand. There's not a lot of people wanting to buy a house at a 7% mortgage right now. Can we Google that? Today's mortgage rates. And there should be a Google page that comes up where they summarize everything very, very nicely. So you've got buyers don't want to buy at the high, and they don't want the price associated with the 7% mortgage. Or put another way, they can't get approved for the house they want for that. Yeah, take a look at this. Let's change the loan amount to $500,000. Boom. And let's go to California. $7.5%. So we're up close to 8. Now go back to Florida, and then let's drop the credit score down to under 700, just under 700. Ladies and gentlemen, 8% mortgage. By the way, that's not a terrible credit score. 680 to 699 is what you would call solid. It's not exceptional. 700s is what you need, and if you manage to get to 800, that's amazing. But with $1 trillion in credit card debt right now, people can't afford to buy a house. So people can't afford to buy a house. People don't want to sell their house. They'd rather Airbnb it or lease it. Means the supply is down and demand is down. So on the residential market, I believe, you know, the Fed is saying it's probably going to be 2 years to the end of 25 till we have federal interest rates back down to 3, and they're probably looking to raise in July because there's been some statistics out that say that the economy is still a little too hot and there's still a little too much inflation and things are tough. So there you have it, folks. That's why I believe for the next 2 years, certain parts of the housing market may shift, but most markets I think are just going to be, there's a new status quo on the number of houses that are selling, and prices are not going to drop through the floorboards. What this does open the door to is home builders to build more homes, because cities are going to be more willing to give zoning permits for a builder to build another 30 homes on a new piece of land. And they're going to be farther from downtown, so it's farther commute, but that increases the supply of housing that helps it. Home builders now are building at a time when what they're going to be selling is higher priced and the interest rates are up. So the home builder usually discounts the interest rate a little bit to help people to get in. If the interest rates are 8 and they could give you an interest rate of 6, that's going to be maybe helpful to a first-time home buyer that gets some assistance from the home builders. So you are going to get a little relief in the market as the home brothers like Lanier and Toll Brothers are out there. That's why with the home market being kind of futzed up, take a look at this. Let's look at the Lanier stock price, see if we can find that. Lanier stock price, and that's a home builder. Let's go take a look at their stock price over the last 6 months. And what you're about to see here, as Kellyanne goes to get that, and I didn't give her notice ahead of time, so give her a second, is you're going to see what's going on. That actually, even though and let's go to 6 months there, 6M, and take a look. Wow, Lanier has gone up since the beginning of the year. What's going on? People think that the stock's going to do okay because with 7%, 8% interest rates and high home prices, there's room in there for home builders to build more homes and make a profit. And the cities are going to be more willing, hey, could I have a building permit to go to the edge of city and counties and build a small neighborhood of 20 homes? And the cities are saying, yes, we need more affordable housing, and if you're going to be a little bit far from downtown, you're going to be building it out there at a more moderated price. So as long as the materials, the inflation on materials, lumber, copper, concrete, drywall, core building materials, as long as those are not out of whack, the home builders are going to be able to make money and add to the supply. But it doesn't happen overnight. It takes a while to build it. But right now is the time to do it so they could actually get a small amount of homes in new areas built before the fall, winter. And if you're building in Texas and in Florida, you can build all year. So that's what I see going on in the home market. And so thank you for asking. I think if you are a buyer, stay put. If you have a home and you want to step up, now's not the time to do it. If you have to move from one area to another and you're in debt and you've got things, you got to sell it. But if your job is moving, you say, from Atlanta to Florida, maybe figure out if you can lease in Florida and Airbnb or lease that house back in Atlanta, because rents are also coming down a bit, but they're still at a historically elevated rate. So you could probably make insurance payment and property tax and poolman and gardener. That's what you got to make. To rent a house, you got to cover your payment, your property tax, your home insurance, your poolman, and your gardener. So the basics, you see what I mean? It's not just the payment. And if you have a 2% mortgage at a reasonable rate, And now that adds up to $3,000, and you can rent it for $3,500 or $4,000. That's positive cash flow each month, and you don't have to go through selling the house, at least not today. So that's the housing market. And let's see, do we have a question?
We do. We have one that we get asked a lot, actually. I want to start a company and I have an idea. Can I submit it to you?
Okay, great question. If you have a company and you have an idea and you're looking for financing, I really don't do seed financing, and Valuetainment Investment Group doesn't do seed financing. But here's what we do. You can find me on Minnect, M-I-N-N-E-C-T, Minnect. Got a minute? Let's connect. There we go, where you can connect with experts. You can find me on there, and I will ask a question and you ask a question, I'll give you a text answer. You can ask me a question, ask for a video answer, I can give you a much longer answer, and then also give you some links that might be helpful to you. I can answer it that way. Or we can find time to talk one-on-one. But people are sending me business ideas all the time. And I give you an answer about what I think, about the sector, or about where you're going, or your approach. I can give you a fast answer to that. And if you want to, instead of asking me a text-to-text question, ask me a text-to-video question. I can give you a 3-minute video. I talk pretty fast, and I can add some links there that might help it. But if you're looking to start a business right now, you can submit it to me that way. But I like to invest after you and your money have gotten to first base, and you've proved that your idea is off the ground, and you got a couple people with you. It doesn't take $1 million to do that. It does mean you need to save so that you're prepared to have some money to start the business, to sustain yourself. And by the way, live with a friend in an apartment. Rent a townhouse with 2 college buddies and you don't have families yet. Do everything you can to conserve. Save the money, use your own money to start it, because every investor is going to look at you and say, do you have skin in the game? Yes, I did. I managed to save $50,000 over 4 years. I lived with 2 friends from college, conserved, and that's my money, my blood, my sweat, and my tears that launched the business. And most investors, including the Biz Doc, are going to say, well done. Tell me about your traction. Tell me how far you got. That's when you can get investors interested. If you're starting from zero and it's a common business like a dry cleaner in town, talk to your bank about SBA loans. Those are designed for that. For known businesses that have a predicted success rate, you're buying a small deli from someone else. You're opening a dry cleaner in an area of town where Lanier just built some new homes. Those things are current businesses in known markets, and the SBA and your local bank, might be more receptive, especially if you're buying an existing business from someone else. Remember, that's also a path. A person retiring that had 2 dry cleaners and you buy them from them and you maybe add a third, lift it up. That's how a lot of entrepreneurs get started. Those are old school, but it still gives you the opportunity to run something entrepreneurially. And who knows, maybe you build that up, start making cash flow, hire a general manager, and you use that money to start something that's been on your heart and your dream for other things. But you'll learn a lot in that way. So compound answer there with a lot of angles to it, but I wanted to make sure that I covered them. So
Love it.
What do we got? Do we have time for one more question maybe?
Yeah.
All right. We got 5 minutes. We got time for a question.
Okay.
Let me take a look here.
What advice would you give someone that's looking for a mentor? Or like what questions should they be asking their mentor when they first get started?
You know what? That is great. So what advice would I give to someone who's looking for a mentor? What questions should I be asking them? Well, first of all, you want to find a mentor who's a couple steps down in life from you. If you want to find someone and ask about being a good father or being a good mom, how old are their kids? 15, 10, 12? Are they well behaved? Are they doing reasonable in school, public school, private school? They don't have to be up here socioeconomically. Just objectively look at that. Wow, what well-behaved kids seems to be together. That's a person to ask. Similarly, for business, finding someone a little bit further than you that's had some success in business. And a great way you can find those mentors, as I've said, go to angel organizations that have angel investors getting together. But what I like to ask is a simple question. What am I not asking? What am I maybe not seeing? What is a person in my situation, my job, my life stage, what are the blind spots that I usually have? And someone who's been along there can ask you questions to help filter down. The other way is to go completely prepared with a mentor and to break everything into, how do I do this? How do I do that? And it's like, hey, just hired a sales guy, only lasted 4 months, had to let him go. Obviously, how do I hire a sales guy and a sales person, man, woman, whatever? How do I hire a sales leader and give myself the highest % of success? I just, missed out on one, and they're here, they're gone. Waste of time, messing with my salespeople. This is horrible. How do I hire a sales leader? So break it into how do I, and always ask, what else am I not asking? And that's how I usually encourage people to manage with mentors. Find somebody above you, bring how do I questions, and then always ask, and a person in my position, what am I not asking? What might I not be seeing? And let them interview you. How's this going? How's that going? How's this going? How's that going? All of a sudden, boom, like going to the doctor for a checkup. All of a sudden, now that you mention it, my lower back is a little bit sore, from time to time. And now you find out you have a bulging disc or something dissolving. So it's help the mentor be the best doctor for you. You're not there to impress them. You're there to learn. So those are the advice I would give for that. And if you want to get advice, I think we have here, let's get the vault ready. Coming up, a great place to get advice and education and information for your business is once a year, and it's coming up soon, is the Vault Conference. And the 2023 Vault Conference is going to be down in Hollywood, Florida, which is on the beach at the Diplomat Hotel around the corner from Fort Lauderdale Airport. So wherever you are in the US, fly to Fort Lauderdale Airport, and it's just a few minutes away. And if you roll back down a little bit so I can see this, we have a lineup of speakers. Patrick Bet-David himself will be giving you, edification, education and encouragement for your businesses. And we've got people that are going to be joining us that have some very interesting perspective on leadership. Tom Brady will be there, interviewed by Patrick on stage, talking about leadership. Tom Brady has a lot of experience with different teammates. He's won multiple championships and no two teams were the same. How do you keep winning in business even though maybe you go through salespeople or your senior execs change? How do you keep winning? Tom Brady has real life examples talking about that. Another sportsman, Mike Tyson, he is fun to listen to, but if you listen in there, you are also going to hear how he worked with great coaches and great trainers to get ready. And he loves to talk about always having a plan. And every fight always has a plan until you get hit in the mouth, and then you have to go to plan B. So within his career, he also has wonderful lessons I think are very applicable to entrepreneurs. And then the story of a guy I love, Will Guidara. Will Guidara helped build EMP, 11 Madison Park in New York, into the #1 rated restaurant in the world. And he talks about how he did it through innovation, through building his team, and through perseverance. All of them are going to be there in addition to all of the sessions and topics that will be taught from stage by Patrick. Get a ticket to the Vault if you're not planning to go there. It is 2.5 days, with 4 great leaders to absorb. And I think that's a great place to start, especially if there's a recession coming and you want to go to the gym and build some business muscles. We are that gym, Valuetainment. And our premier flagship event is coming up August 30th to September 2nd, Diplomat Hotel, Hollywood, Florida, Fort Lauderdale Airport. So get from where you are to Fort Lauderdale Airport and connect with entrepreneurs just like you, leaders just like you, walking the same path, enduring the same challenges, getting through the same walls that you're trying to break through. Come, sit shoulder to shoulder from them and absorb and walk away with a notebook full of your playbook to do better next year than this year, despite the recession and despite whatever the economy throws at you. Thank you for watching the Biz Doc Podcast. I'm Tom Ellsworth, the Biz Doc, and I hope I left you better than I found you.